probably I can probably tell you I was so excited. I was like, I'm so glad this is happening in Kentucky. It's such a great opportunity. And I certainly see a couple of familiar names and faces on the call today. So it's great to reconnect with some of you. Hi, Greta. I know I haven't seen Greta since we were at UK, I think, a while ago. I know Susan Tipton, and I'm sure a couple other views as well. Hey, Susan. But I want to start by truly and from the bottom of my heart, thanking all of you for the work that you do. Programs like mine would not exist if you all were not doing the work that you do every single day with these students. So from where I sit, you all are like the true heroes in this work. And everything that we get to do at Gov School for the Arts is because of, and I hope to thank in service of, the work that you all and your students do every day. So thank you. It is truly a privilege to be here with you. Like Wendy said, I'm here to talk to you all about the Gov School for the Arts. For some of you, maybe this will not be the first time you've heard about the program. Maybe for some of you, it will be. And the presentation that I'm going to give as part of our time today is actually a presentation that we put together for students who are interested in applying to the program. So you'll notice some pronouns are maybe saying you as a student, and that's why. But I think it's helpful to talk about the program through the lens that we talk to students about it. And I definitely don't want to use up our entire time today presenting to you all, because I want to leave as much room as possible for questions that you all may have. And also, if anyone has any like feedback or ideas that you all have for us, this program, Gov School for the Arts, is at its best when it is responsive to and congruent to the needs of Kentucky educators and Kentucky students. And I like to think that I have my finger on the pulse of Kentucky young artists to a degree, but I'm not working with them every day the way that you all are. So your input is extremely, extremely important. So I think without further ado, I'll probably go ahead and jump in. Wendy, I just want to double check. Not that I necessarily plan on taking up the whole time, but we go until 5 today, is that correct?
Correct, yes. And okay. You should have screen share capabilities too.
So. Looks like I do. Awesome, thank you so much. All right. All right, now I have to ask the ubiquitous Zoom question. Can you see my presentation? All right, fantastic, great, awesome. All right, so like I said, we're here to talk about the Gov School for the Arts today. And what we say we are, how we describe ourselves at GSA, is that we're a community of artists empowering Kentucky's next generation of creative leaders. So even though the word school is in our title, we don't often refer to ourselves as a school. We don't refer to ourselves as a camp. We refer to ourselves as a community. And our whole goal is to empower, like I said, Kentucky's next generation of creative leaders. I'll just speak to you a little bit more about what sort of the why of our work, what we seek to do. We want our students to leave the summer program knowing, one, that they are artists, that they have permission to take on that title and that identity, and that as artists, they are good enough where they are. We want them to know that as an artist, they are uniquely talented and in a unique way, vitally important to society, that they have this unique artistic skill set that's going to offer really important things to society, like innovation, of course, creativity, adaptability skills, people skills, also just an ability to foster human connection or bring like joy and color and meaning to everyday life. So we want them to understand that being an artist is a really important thing. We also want them to understand that you actually can grow up to be a professional artist and make your living as an artist. There's an actual career that actually exists. Sort of fighting off this starving artist mentality. It doesn't mean you don't have to make very specific steps along the way to get there. And you can even be a professional artist and live in the state of Kentucky if you want. In fact, there's lots of professional artists living and working in Kentucky, and the state has, I think, a uniquely vibrant past and present of artists in and from Kentucky. That said, we also know that 15, 16, 17 A lot of them are going to go in a lot of different ways in their lives, and we want them to know it's also okay if you don't grow up to be a professional artist. That's cool too. It doesn't mean that you check your artistic identity at the door and spend the rest of your life saying, oh, I used to be an artist, but I'm not anymore. You take that creative, that artistic skill set with you, because it's going to make great contributions to a lot of other fields as well. Clearly, I'm preaching to the choir when I say education is one of them. But we need artistic business people. We need artistic medical professionals. We need creative bankers. All of this. Artists have a place in all industries. So we want our students to understand that even then they're making unique contributions to society. And I'm very clear that we're not a Kentucky retention program. I'm not trying to force anyone to live here for the rest of their lives, but my hope is that at the very least they'll consider it, and also at the very least that if they do go on to live outside of Kentucky, that they talk about this place with pride, and not some flyover state that they're embarrassed to be from. So we're most known, the Governor School for the Arts, for, of course, our summer program. That's the main part of our programming. So just to kind of go over some very basic details, our summer program is 3 weeks long. It is for high school aged artists. Specifically, we work with sophomores and juniors, or I guess by the time they're at the summer program, rising juniors and rising seniors. A lot of you may be familiar, possibly more familiar with the Governor's Scholars Program, or maybe even the third Governor's School program in Kentucky, the Governor's School for Entrepreneurship. GSP tends to be the one that most folks are aware of. To clarify, we do accept students a year earlier than GSP, as well as the year that GSP accepts students. So we're accepting rising juniors and seniors. Our program is residential for the entire program, so students actually move into a residential hall on campus. We hire an RA staff to take care of them, so we all live and learn together. And we are an intensive program. Our students, we'll take a look at our schedule here in a moment, but they're basically living, breathing, eating, sleeping art from the moment they wake up until like 10 o'clock at night some days. That is a little bit different of a program model from the Governor's Scholar Program, where they have a lot more unstructured time for good benefit. Both program models are valid and awesome. Ours is just a little bit more of an intensive, if you will. And students attend the program to focus in one of 9 art forms. So we're going to review those now. Our 9 art forms at this time are architecture and design, which we're actually considering rebranding as design arts. We're finding that a lot of students get hung up on that word architecture and may or may not want to quote design houses, but really that's more of that program is really almost like a first year college studio experience in any kind of design field. Creative writing, dance. In our dance program, covers ballet, modern, choreography, dances of the African diaspora, although students do not by any means need to have experience all 4 of those. We have our drama program, our film and photography program, our instrumental music program, and that covers any and all instruments. So we don't have a set orchestra or a set band or anything like that. We had a student apply this year for accordion, which I thought was amazing. But any and all instruments for instrumental music. Musical theater, so what you might think of, more like Broadway style music, visual art, all types of visual art, and vocal music. That's going to be a little bit more classically based, and that's also where our choir program is. So you have a student who is a choir nerd like I was in high school. Vocal music might be of interest to them. Students can apply for up to 2 art forms, and we encourage and welcome that, but they can, like I said, attend GSA only for 1. Best of all, GSA is tuition free. I think we are fortunate enough to be able to take it for granted in the state of Kentucky that all of our governor's schools are tuition free experiences. I can tell you that is increasingly not the case in other states. If other states even have a governor's school at all, it is very, very often tuition based. And in fact, I am very confident, until someone proves me wrong, that GSA, we are the largest tuition-free residential program of our kind in the entire country. So right here in Kentucky, it's a great thing to be proud of. Also, while we're talking about the good news of being tuition-free, I will point out the other good news that I don't necessarily have a slide for, but is that we're expanding this year. So we are fortunate to receive some ESSER funding from the Department of Education for the next 3 summers that is allowing us to double the size of the program. So historically, we've been at 256 students a summer. This year, we should be able to serve about 512. So there's never been a better year to be a GSA applicant, and it's also um, just a thrilling level of investment in young artists in Kentucky. It's so overdue and so needed, and we're so grateful that the Department of Education thought of us. So we will essentially be doing our 3-week program twice this summer, with a week off in between, and we'll rotate student bodies between those 2 experiences. So if you all have any more questions about that, let me know. But that will be for the next 2 summers. And then part of my job during that time is going to be fundraising like heck, so that we can sustain that level of capacity beyond the summer of 2024. So again, I'll really throw back the curtain here and let you all know it's interesting. This year we saw one of our smaller applicant pools that we've seen in a while, and I think a lot of that probably has to do with the pandemic. All that to say, if you have students who've been on the fence about applying to GSA, if they didn't apply this year, next year or the following year will definitely be, I think, some of the highest chances they may have had historically to get in. And again, this is just a statement that we say to our students a lot, is that we want them to know they are an artist and they are important. So I kind of went over this slide a little bit earlier, but we want our students to know they're powerful as artists, and also the program is just a very supportive environment. So we aren't just there to teach them. I imagine as many of you are in your classroom, we're there to take care of them as human beings as well. We do have a mental health counselor in residence the entire time to help support our students' social, emotional, and mental well-being. And we understand that for a lot of students, they have a little bit of imposter syndrome with the summer program, so we understand that and care for that. This is just a list of adjectives that we find our students use to describe their experience at GSA. So we share these with our applicants to help them get a sense of the type of community that they're applying to join. So I'll let you kind of look at those yourself there, but hopefully these all sound exciting to you, and I don't know, maybe some of them are surprising, maybe not, but it's just a little bit more about the why of our work. So getting into more details about the program and our application process, what type of students we're looking for. As I mentioned, when students apply, they can be sophomores or juniors, that they can be from public, private, or home schools. We are, of course, looking for students who possess enough ability in their art form to have a successful 3-week experience at our program. However, we have a lot of definitions of what that is and what that looks like. Because, again, preaching to the choir, access to arts training is wildly disparate across the state of Kentucky. And we're going to acknowledge that and work with that until we can fix it. As opposed to just saying, like, great, let's get all the kids in here from the performing arts school necessarily, and then see who else is left. We really want to acknowledge the variety of levels of access that students have had for a lot of different reasons, whether it's economics, geography, social acceptance of studying the arts. We can have a whole conversation about why we don't see a lot of young men applying for our dance program, right? So we really try to acknowledge that and look for not just artistic skill, but potential in an art form. And a lot of the other things you're seeing here, students' passion for their art form, that can go a long way. A student who's collaborative and open-minded, eager to learn, someone that we're going to want to work with, and we also feel like is going to want to work with us. I say this example all the time. Somebody who is the most amazing 15-year-old painter we've ever seen in our lives can walk in, and if we get a sense that they don't feel like they have much more to learn, or that they don't want to connect with other students and learn from other students who might be different from them, then they're probably not going to be the best fit for our program. But if we see a student who maybe doesn't have the same level of like technical skill, but my gosh, you can see that they have tried to soak in every ounce of information and learning about their art form that they can, and they are so excited for a chance to be a part of a community like this, that student probably going to be more of a fit. And then, of course, we're also trying to convene a community that looks like all parts of Kentucky. and the many, many ways that you could interpret that. So, we're valuing diversity of all kinds, geographical, other types of demographics like race, gender, sexual orientation, and so on. So that GSA is also a place of exchange where students can not just meet people different from them, but learn from them, let them learn from themselves, and so on. Just a little bit about the summer program itself. When students move in on the opening day, we have a little welcome ceremony. The faculty greet the parents along with the students, and then the parents leave. And we are a sequestered program. Parents don't see their students and vice versa for the entire 3-week period. For some people, that is very terrifying. For other people, that is thrilling. Some parents, we kind of have to drag off campus, and others are running off to the airport to get a flight to Cancun. But either way, we're there to support our students with any kind of homesickness or anything like that comes up. This is a general idea of our day-to-day schedule at GSA. Like I said, it is intensive. We start the every day with a morning presentation with the whole school, where they're going to be hearing a presentation or performance from an artist or a cultural worker of some kind. We really try to broaden our students' scope of what it can mean to work in the arts. It doesn't just mean having your painting in a gallery or being on Broadway. It can mean working at the intersection of arts and healing. It can mean running a city's mural program. We also want our students to have an interdisciplinary experience, even though they're there for one art form. So we want them to have exposure to all of their art forms, and they also have a chance to take some workshops in some of their art forms, so that's pretty cool. But after that morning presentation, like you can see, we're in studio or class in the morning, then we eat, then we're back in studio in the afternoon, then we eat again, and then sometimes we're back in studio again till 10 p.m. Some days we'll also, in the evenings, we'll have an all-school presentation or performance, and maybe is a bit more fully produced, like a dance company or a voice recital or something like that. Students do get a couple days off toward the end of the second week, but it is intensive. As I mentioned earlier, we have a robust residential life staff. This is something that a lot of our students are very curious about, but every student is a part of an RA group. So the RA is sort of their GSA mom or dad. The RA group is sort of their GSA siblings, if you will. And our RAs, organize everything from talent shows to, transporting students to religious services, to volleyball tournaments, and so on. We're currently on the campus of UK in Lexington, and we anticipate that we will be there for both of our sessions through at least the summer of 2024, at which point we'll put out a request for proposals for anyone who might be interested in hosting us in the future. And we are a process-based program. Artistic process is very important to us, but we do have a final day presentation that you are all welcome to attend at any time. This year we'll have 2 this year, so they'll be on July 2nd and July 30th. I think it's the best day in the state of Kentucky because it's all of these students from GSA giving performances, gallery exhibitions, readings of their creative writing work. You really get to see the flashpoint of the talent in the state of Kentucky and also hear what's important to them, see what's important to them through their art. So it's really an amazing day, and I hope you all can join us for that as well. We do have a variety of alumni benefits available to students for having gone through the program. There are about 30 colleges and universities that offer scholarships to GSA alumni. And that's going to vary from a full ride to a couple $1,000s. Some have ACT scores associated with them, some don't, but there are about 30 colleges that offer those scholarships as a way to target GSA alumni because they understand the quality of students coming out of programs like this. We also organize exclusive college fairs and networking with college reps. For our alumni in the fall, let's say you're a drama student, we organized an event where you could walk into a room and audition for like 20-something colleges at once. The college reps come to you, as opposed to you having to, hop all across the country to interact with those schools. Of course, we provide college and career coaching via continued mentorship with the GSA faculty and staff. The reason I went to UK to get those degrees that Wendy mentioned is because one of my GSA faculty after the program was like, you sound like you might be interested in what's going on at UK, and I had no idea at the time. So those mentorships I think are really invaluable. We do provide grant funding through an alumni fund grant that is, as the name suggests, available to alumni of our program. And then, of course, there's this vast alumni network of probably now over 7,000 alumni across the globe that just, if you find out someone else is a GSA alum, boy, that relationship develops real quickly. So we do our best to keep our alumni network connected. Just to briefly go over our application process, it is a two-part process that begins with an online application. So all students, if they want to attend GSA, complete an online application. And like I said, there's a two-part process. So the first part is that we review that online application, and then we select some of the applicants to advance to a second and final round. That historically has been an in-person audition and review. This year we did return to some in-person auditions and reviews. Some of them were still virtual. But right now, those have taken place, so we're actually now preparing to announce our class in a couple weeks, which is very exciting. A couple details about our application process. We do not ask for or consider GPA, ACT, or SAT scores. We will never ask your students for them or consider them. So if you have some students who may not be maybe as excited about applying to some other programs that do ask for those things, maybe send them our way. Students can apply for up to 2 art forms, like I mentioned. No demographic quotas. As I mentioned earlier, we do highly value diversity of all kinds in our selection process. However, we do not accept a certain number of students from each county or a certain number of students from each region. The real reason that we haven't done that historically is with a class size of 256. That just gets very tricky very quickly. So some folks are more familiar with the GSP application process, where a school nominates a student, I believe, and you all probably know this better than I do. And so many students are always going to go to GSP from a certain county or certain school. And our process is much more in the hands of the student. So we actually have some students who apply to GSA and their school might not even know about it, which is something we try to avoid. We want our students to be getting support from their school. But we are different in that regard. And we do have an application fee of $30 if they're applying for 1 art form, $35 total if they're applying for 2, we just add $5 on. If the student's on free reduced lunch, that is waived. They just click a button in the application. It's an honesty policy, and we just waive that for them. And as I mentioned earlier, our application process is different from GSP and GSE if you are familiar with those programs. Everything you need to know, or your students will need to know, will always be on our website, kentuckygsa.org. You're going to start to see some dates in this presentation that are from this past fall, but I left them in here because they're approximately when you could expect to see these things come from us in future years. There's a really important document called the applicant guide that we release, sort of the first thing we release in the fall. And this year you can see we released it in mid-October. And that should be the one-stop shop place for any information your students or you all or their parents need to know about their application. So in those applicant guides, we're going to really kind of detail all of this out, like when the application is open and when it's due. You can see this past year it opened in November and it was due in early January. You can expect a similar timeline for next year. The applicant guide is going to talk a little bit about Accepted, which is the online application platform that we use to get our applications in. It's going to tell students about the 2 recommendation forms that they have to have completed and how to get those turned into us. The applicant guide is going to provide some essay prompts and questionnaires that they'll need to, or tell them about them, that they'll need to fill out within Accepted. And then the applicant guide is also going to tell them about what kind of artistic samples or materials they need to provide as part of their application. So that initial online application is not just you saying, here's my name and my grade, I want to apply to GSA. It is, here's my name, here's my grade, I want to apply to GSA, and here are some samples of my writing or a video of me singing. So that's why we really encourage students to read these applicant guides as soon as possible and start working on those materials in October or November. They see that January due date sometimes and don't start until the week before. God forbid there's a snow day. And it really stresses some folks out. So we also, in the applicant guide, will provide criteria that students are being scored on, as well as some tips that our adjudicators provide based on what they've seen in the past. We do have a series of webinars that we have done for the past 2 years at least. I'm really hopeful that this fall we'll be out in the state a lot more, coming into your schools in person to meet with students. But I do anticipate that we will also maintain some level of online webinars. So you have a sense here of what we did this past fall. Everything from a 101 webinar to walking students through an applicant guide, walking them through the actual application portal, and showing them what that's like. We did an art form specific webinars with people who are actually judging the applications and scoring the auditions, where students could ask them for feedback or ideas or questions. We did an open Q&A webinar. Hint for any of your students who are maybe freshmen this year or might be new applicants, all the recordings of these live on our YouTube page. So if you just search for our program on our YouTube page, they can watch recordings of these now. They're probably going to be pretty relevant for any future applicants as well. And then, as you can see, the application, like I said, is due in early January. We announced who is advancing on to the final round. We call them GSA finalists in mid-February. We just had that final round of auditions and reviews. On April 15th, we'll be announcing our accepted and our alternate lists. And then GSA will be taking place in June and July this summer. We'll have one session that goes from June 12th to July 2nd, and a second session that goes from July 10th through 30th. I can put this in the chat too if anyone needs it, but we are here for you and your students and their guardians and anyone in between. It is our job to support everyone through this process, and I have a team full of lovely, wonderful human beings who are very friendly and love answering folks' questions. So please do feel free to reach out to us, encourage your students to reach out to us, and we love giving everyone as much support as we can. We're also on social media, especially Facebook and Instagram. So it's just a little closing statement that we make to our students to go forth and make great art. I'll stop sharing my screen, and before I pause for questions or ideas or input or feedback, one other thing I wanted to mention that we're returning to this summer that we haven't done for a number of years is that at the summer program, both summer programs, we will have an educator day. I will make sure that at the very least Wendy and Dr. Evans get the information on that so they could perhaps forward that to all of you here, although hopefully some of you are already on an email list that we have. But we will invite any and all educators, and that could be a public school educator, a private arts instructor, a community member who's just really influential in the arts in their community. We'll invite you to campus. We will provide you with tours of the program. We'll provide you with lunch, and we'll provide you with an opportunity just to ask any questions, or similar to today, give us any feedback or ideas you might have about how we can better serve young artists in the state of Kentucky. Especially in this moment of expansion, there's all sorts of things that we might not have thought were possible beforehand that maybe we can rethink in new ways now, which is really exciting. So I will do everything I can to make sure that the invitations for those days end up in your all's inboxes, because we'd love to host you all in Lexington, buy you a little lunch, and just connect with you. So anyway, that's my presentation. I'll stop there. I know that was kind of quick, so if you need to repeat anything, let me know.
So Nick, we appreciate that. Wendy lost electricity, and Sandy Allen, who was on with us in Mount Vernon, she lost as well. So anyway, they had to hop off, but Nick, thank you so much. And do want to say this about Nick. We met with him a couple months ago, month and a half, and he was another connecting piece to help us get partnered up with the folks we had earlier in the week, the 7 or 8 other art entities across our state. So Nick, we're so appreciative of that, and we're so wanting to get the message out about what you do and what your community does. I love the way that you refer to it as a community, because it truly is. So anybody have any questions? And Kim, I love it. You put in there your GSA, so that's fantastic. And we've got some other comments there. So any questions for Nick at all? You can unmute and come on and take the mic, or type in the chat, either way.
Are you all still offering the art shops kind of before the audition time?
Thank you, Greta. Great question. So just a little bit of background on the art shops that Greta just referred to. Over the years, and I think these began in the late 90s, GSA in the fall, we would offer what we called art shops, which were basically workshops where we would go around the state and we'd start off the day with a presentation sort of like the one you saw today. And then students would have a chance to break out in art form groups and get feedback, either get feedback on materials that they were putting together for their application, or just sort of generally have an arts workshop experience that was meant to, in some way, shape, or form, sort of encourage them toward getting an application in. We started out with, I think, 13 of those and 13 places across Kentucky in the late 90s. And over the years, leading up to, I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, budget cuts had taken us down to 4. So one thing that we realized about those is that a couple things had happened that that I think were a little different from our original intention. Is one, I think because we were going to 4 locations, we would maybe like plop down, and I say that to art in criticism of us a little bit to a degree. We would sort of plop down maybe, and let's say a Moorhead or something like that, and host a Moorhead art shop, and like 90% of our attendees would have driven there from Louisville. And we're like, okay, well, this isn't what we were seeking out to do. We were also learning that a lot of the folks coming to those expected to be working directly with a faculty member at GSA, and they thought that they were sort of getting their foot in the door with one of the judges, and that was not necessarily what we were seeking out to do either. So right before the pandemic, we said, let's do a little like refresh on these, and we started to refer to them more as applicant prep workshops, I think, where we started to attempt to more like thoroughly and authentically partner with someone in a community, like the high school system in Perry County was a great example. We were able to partner with them really closely to have sort of like a host partner to help us connect in with the community in hopes that we were actually serving students in the area that we were going to. And then not using more arts educators in the region so that we could both provide students with a professional to give them feedback on their materials, and while also it was being a professional that was somewhere in the region that that student could connect to beyond just that one workshop. So that was a little bit less of GSA swooping in for 8 hours and leaving. And what we're hoping to do, Greta, to finally get to answer your question, is as we emerge out of the past couple years we've been in and do more in-person experiences, we'll definitely be out in the state doing recruitment presentations, right? Like going to coffee shops, going to schools, going to libraries, and saying, hey, come here if you want to learn about the program, ask us any questions. I think the question we're trying to ask ourselves right now is how can we best resource applicants from a let's get you feedback on your materials perspective. And we also feel like this refresh with the pandemic has given us an opportunity to do that, the most powerful way we have. So we're looking at a few different models. One, the one I just described, where we sort of have like a host partner in a community, and we do our best to bring in some arts educators from the region to provide feedback. One model I'm really excited about is partnering with the universities in the state of Kentucky, especially those that offer majors in arts programs, and convening our applicants on those college campuses, giving them information about GSA, and then letting them work with the faculty of those colleges to get feedback on the materials that they might be putting together for the GSA application. In the meantime, learning about the majors available at that school, and learning more about the opportunities in higher education in Kentucky for the arts, so that regardless of whether or not they attend GSA, they've at least had that educational opportunity. And at the end of the day, a vocal music professor at Morehead State University is going to give you good feedback on your GSA audition materials. There's nothing that we're looking for that's like such a secret sauce that's not going to be a valuable opportunity. So we're trying to think more in that direction. But I will be very transparent, and as you can tell, it is still sort of in a brainstorming period. So if you all have thoughts or ideas of how we can best resource you or your students in preparing them, or providing them with sort of like that more qualitative support in their application materials, we'd love to hear it. I think we're also interested in now with Zoom being more of a thing. Can we help connect students who might not have a voice teacher with someone who teaches online? I know voice teachers who teach online and have some scholarships available for it. So how could we connect them with some students who could use a resource like that? So these are the questions we're asking ourselves right now.
That
Thank
would
you,
be
Nick.
really good. I think as a parent of a student that takes, private piano, and we looked at options, online options, but if it's like someone that's somewhere else and you don't really know, it would just be good to have, kind of a curated list of these are teachers that are actually good,
Yeah,
personally. I was like, I'm not just message Rob and ask him if he knows somebody that would be good, Rob Vanover. But I have a student teacher, and this is my first year having a student teacher. And I was talking to her, and I was like, she's a music ed major, voice major from Moorhead. And I asked her if she had applied for GSA. And because of circumstances at her school that she went to, which was a Kentucky school, she didn't know what to prepare, what to sing, or anything. She really didn't get a lot of guidance. And I'm feeling like there's probably a lot of students like that, and how to help them.
Greta, do you think the answer to this might be all of the above? I know that we could always be doing more to make sure that school administrators and counselors and teachers are aware of our program and know how to access information. Do you have a sense of in that student's case that it was the school didn't have the information that they needed, or that there was not the person at the school to necessarily coach the student? I'm just curious.
Person that they'd hired for music wasn't with it enough, so how to prepare her for auditions or solo and ensemble, anything like that. But she was definitely interested in music, and now she teaches voice lessons at this conservatory in Louisa. So things are going better now. But when I was a student, I didn't really have a private voice teacher either, and I had my choir director kind of help coach me, but then she died my senior year, so I had nobody to tell me this is how you do your audition.
Yeah.
So, for college.
That's helpful.
I think Wendy's the electricity must be back on, so that's good. So I go ahead. Sorry about that, Nick. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just thanking Greta for that. That's it's good. Some good food for thought. Yeah.
Any other questions at all? We're so appreciative of you, Nick, being with us today, and we want to create and build on this partnership and what we're doing with Renaissance. Wendy is absolutely doing an amazing job leading the work. So, and she'll want to jump in and talk about next week. We're kind of going to give everybody a little bit of a reprieve for a few days while it may be spring break, but that doesn't mean we're not going to come back. We want you involved as much as possible, because I tell you, we have a meeting with the U.S. Department of Ed in the morning at 10. And just from the excitement that you all have shown, I mean, we met today and we've talked about it. It is amazing at what you all are doing as teachers and leaders and in your districts. So we're going to showcase all that. Wendy, you would not believe what she's put together to showcase the work that you all have done. It's fabulous. So, and after we do that, I'm sure she's going to share it on Twitter, but just want to give her a hats off, because behind the scenes, there's tons of things that goes on with these grants that she really works hard to recognize you all. And I want to do the same. So anything that you do, please continue to share that great work. Let's keep this rolling. You all blew Twitter up last night with all your retweets. It was great. So, but anyway, Wendy, I'll turn it back over to you. And if you had to come on, I was going to tell all that, but you had to jump back in, so I'll hush.
Well, my electricity is still off. Apologies. So Sandy Allen, who's actually 5 minutes down the road, she's at the elementary school closest to me. The electric's off apparently in our whole area. So I'm on my cell phone. So apologies. Nick, thank you so much. I know Dr. Evans probably said that and uttered that. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. We know that, partnerships like this, and when Nick and I and Dr. Evans had talked, we knew that opportunities for your students are just going to continue to develop because of all of these wonderful ESSER funds. But typically students may have shied away from applying. So please just spread the word. If you've got students that you know that have came through your classes or students that you're aware of, please encourage them to apply. And I think that just, I'm going to echo kind of what Nick has probably already said, and I missed it because of electricity. But encourage them. You are that person. You're that sounding board that you can say, "Hey, listen, give this a shot." And then in your districts, if they say, "Hey, so and so went through the program," then that awareness, just getting that awareness and that comfort level out. And just like Kimberly, when Kim Evans said that she is a GSA, alum, those experiences when students come back again, all the success to Renaissance is not due to me or due to Dr. Evans. It's due to your all's word of mouth. You all are going back. Someone sent me a message the other day that they had a conversation in Goodwill about this grant, and now someone else is wanting to join. So it's due to word of mouth, and that's the best recognition and the best praise that we can give. So continue to do that. All of that being said, you're going to get a wonderful email from me. I usually send out those emails on Sunday nights. That has our weekend ahead or what's going on. So I will send out a Sunday night email that's going to say we're having a Renaissance spring break. For those of you that still like to have things to do, I'll kind of give you a to-do list. If you want it, you don't have to take it. But it's things like MindSpark. It's things like other online opportunities that you can still kind of keep it yourselves reinventing, reimagining, and rediscovering the arts, because that's kind of our motto. But thank you for all that you do, guys. We appreciate you. Thank you for what you do for your students. You all are amazing. So, and I'm also, Tanya, I'm glad you popped in there. I'm also, one of the things I'm doing on Friday is I'm meeting with NCHE. I know you all are excited about the trips. So I'm hopefully going to nail down some itineraries on trip dates and all of that. So hopefully that'll come out in my Sunday email too. Oh yeah, Nick, please.
Oh, thank you so much, Wendy. One other thing I wanted to add, well, two things. First off, Kimberly, I put our email address in the chat, and please just, if you have time, shoot us an email. Let us know what you're up to. We'd love to just hear from you and share your story with others. It's so cool to see an alum on here, and anyone else who's an alum, please do so. And one other thing I wanted to mention is the way that we think about our recruitment process and our application process at GSA is, of course, like a functional thing, right? Of like, it needs to be a functional application process. We also think of it as a youth artist empowerment campaign. So we want every young person who goes through the application process with GSA to feel like GSA is another voice telling them that they are really important and really valid and good enough as an artist. And we also do our best to go out of our way to say, and that's regardless of whether or not you get into this program. I know students who don't get into GSA may inherently have disappointment, and there's nothing we can do certainly to avoid that. But we really, for a program that we love our program so much, but boy, oh boy, do we often talk about how we're not the most important thing in the world either. And that students have a lot of great opportunities outside of us as well. So we designed the application process to mimic what they can expect in college application processes as well. So our sincere hope is that students who go through our application process will walk away, one, feeling more prepared to apply for other programs, and two, will walk away feeling more important and empowered as being a young artist in Kentucky. So I just say that to sort of underline, I hope that you feel comfortable and excited to send students our way, knowing that for some of them there may be disappointment, on the other side of the application process. For some of them, I hope there's the opposite of that, but that we want to take good care of them regardless of the outcome, and for it to be a positive experience that they will be better for having participated in. So thank you for letting me chime in with that last remark, Wendy.
Absolutely. And thank you very much, Nick. And guys, I hope that you all, again, this is just another tool in your toolbox. So wonderful, wonderful. Have a great day. If you all need anything, we're here. I'm going to sit in the dark, I think. So
So your evaluation's in the chat there. I posted it again if you missed it a minute ago. So yeah, we appreciate you all very much. And then thank you so much, Nick. Keep us in the loop if we can support you in any way. We're just an email, text, call away to do whatever we can do to support your work, and then sync everybody together and make sure, in our member districts and across the state, we make everybody aware of what a great opportunity this is for kids. So. Wendy, you've got host rights again. So if you want to, I don't know if you can stop recording from your phone, but anyway.
Nick, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this. I was really looking forward to this one. I teach high school. I do English and drama, and I did not know anything about GSA. It's something I would have done if I would have known in high school. And kind of what Greta was saying, I think that's what our school